Good morning, everyone. In our previous session, we have seen what is the final keyword. Final is having the three different use. You can use final with the variables, you can use final with the methods, as well as you can use final with the class. So final is generally we are using to restrict the user, right? That what we have seen. After that, we have seen some of the things related to protected, right? And then we have seen a few things about interface, how you can create any of the interface and how you can include that interface into your class via implements keyword. Right? All the programs contained, everything is taken from the complete reference by Herbert Schill, and whenever it is taken from any of the site, the source is already mentioned in the PPT. Fine. So now what we are going to learn today, it's all about the interface only. That interface you can even extend. One interface can even extend another interface. So what kind of relationship that we will see. So here what we have seen it the last time. One of these simple example, again I'm repeating, how you can make any of the interface, you have to use keyword interface and then the interface name. And all the methods, whatever you are declaring, they are by default the abstract type and modifier is the public one. So here all the methods will be completely unimplemented, right? Completely unimplemented. You are not implementing any method inside interface. You are just declaring that. You are not giving the definition because this part you are leaving on any of the class who is implementing this interface. Right? So this is the keyword implements, right? It is not only implement, implements. That is the keyword. And here you are giving here the definition of this method which is declared inside the interface. Right? Some of the definition you have given from this public static void main, you are creating the object of this class and via this simply the object you are calling this function. Right? We will see how you can create interface reference. We will see more examples related to this. Right? But first see what is relation between interface and class. So here you can see if you are having two classes and relationship, so you can write like extends keyword, right? That class A, then you are writing this keyword extends and B. So you can say B is a parent and the class A, that is child. Okay. Same way, if you are having one of the class and one of the interface, so you need to include this interface into your class via implements keyword, right? And if there are two interface like this, so you can say that one interface can extend another interface. So I'm showing you that, or you can write it. Here I'm having one of the interface I1, okay? And one of the method is there, kind of display method. And here interface I1 is over. Now you are having another interface I2, which needs actually void display method also. And here you are having void sum method also. Something like this. So here you are not repeating anything again and again, right? So to short out this, you are removing this void display from here, and what you are doing, interface I2 extends I1. So what it means, I2 is having actually two methods. One is void display and the another one is void sum. I hope it is clear. Right? because here already one of the thing is readily available, then why to write this thing again and again? So this is only the case of one single method, but you can imagine here I'm having 50 methods, right? And another interface I2, excuse me, another interface I2 is having only one of the method. So would you like to write this 50 methods again over here? No, right? You will not write 50 methods again over here. Instead of that, what you will write? Extends I1. So here you can say interface I2 is having 50 methods plus this one method, so total 51 methods. Okay, so any of the interface can extend another interface. That is possible, right? That is known as interface inheritance. This concept is known as interface inheritance, right? Here you are using the word extends. Okay, fine. Is it clear? But it is not something like that. You are having class A and you extends I1. No, right? You have to use keyword implements, right? So here, if I'm implementing I2, say suppose class A implements I2, how many methods compulsory class A need to give? How many methods compulsorily class A need to provide? Yeah, okay, yes, correct, right? It's 2 or you can say 51 according to the previous example, right? So here compulsorily they need to give this two methods. Though you have only implements I2, right? And you can see in this I2 you are having only one method, but you haven't seen that extends I1, right? So if it is extends I1 and whatever the methods is available with I1, that also you need to include, right? So it is correct runner, right? You have to implement here void display also as well as void sum also, both the methods, right? Fine. So this is what known as interface inheritance. Okay, again back to the slide. So this is what interface inheritance. Interface, another interface, and you can extend it via extends keyword. Fine. Now how we are achieving multiple inheritance in Java. As we have already discussed this thing in our yesterday's session, right? That how you can achieve this multiple inheritance if you are having two interface I2 and I1. For simplicity, I'm removing this right now, right? I'm having two interfaces I1 and I2, right? So you can write over here class A implements I1 and comma I2. So this is somehow multiple inheritance hierarchy. But this is what we are doing via interface, not via the classes. Okay. This is what we have seen already. So here I'm having one class. Here I'm having number of interfaces. It is not like exactly two interfaces. You could be having 3, 4, 5 number of interface which you wish to include in your class. But the condition is what? Your class compulsory indeed must include all the definition, I mean, for this all interfaces, right? Okay. And here you are having one of the interface, right, that extends another interface. That is even only the one. You cannot have more than one. You cannot write extends I2, comma I3, comma I4 and so on. Extends only one. Right? Now here in multiple inheritance example, first interface we are having, that is girl, right? And the another interface, that is boy. This girl interface having one of the method void f1. This boy interface that is having one of the method void f2. Now if I'm having one class demo which implements all these two interface here, girl and then comma, then boy. So this is something like hierarchy is here, your parent is girl, here it's boy, and you are having demo, right? So you can understand, so this is how we can achieve multiple inheritance, right? Demo class is implementing girl interface as well as boy interface, right? So here this class demo compulsorily need to give definition of these two methods, void f1, void f2, right? And you are writing here some of the statements, system.out.println, right? And now here in this public static void main, you are creating object of this demo class. Demo object equals to new demo. And now through this object, I can call this f1 and f2. Right? So via simply your class object, you can even call this method, and you can even create interface reference, and via that also you can access the methods. So that we will see in another example. First we'll finish this concept and then I'll show you all the examples together. Now this is what called interface inheritance. Here I'm having one of the interface, that is vehicle, interface vehicle. Inside that I'm having two methods, move forward, move backward. Now I'm having another interface, that is the aircraft, but it extends vehicle. And it is having two extra methods, void up, void down. But you cannot see here, but you are having actually four methods inside this aircraft, which any of the class needs to include, right? So aircraft interface is having four methods, move forward, move backward, void up and void down. So if any of the class, wherever I'm writing class A, implements aircraft, so they need to include four methods. They need to give the definition of four different methods. Okay. Before looking for this, I'll show you the another examples. First is the test interface. Here I am having one of the interface, that is callback, right? And I am having one method void callback, and I am passing integer parameter. Fine. Now here I am having one of the class which is client, implements this callback interface. So this is your interface, callback interface, right? Now this implement the callbacks interface here. We need to give definition for this method compulsorily. So I'm giving this as a public void callback integer parameter, and I'm writing here the callback called with this parameter. So I'm simply printing this parameter, which is the integer type, right? Now I'm having non-interface methods also in my class, because my class client is having few methods by its own, and one of the method which is compulsory from the interface, right? So I'm having this void non-iface math, and I'm writing something that this classes that implement interfaces may also define other members too, right? Now I am having another class which is test iface in this public static void main. Now this thing is not valid, that you cannot create object of interface. So here I cannot write like this callback C equals to new callback. This is what I cannot write like this. Okay. So that is not valid. You can't create object of interface just like abstract class, right? We were having that limitation. You cannot create object of the abstract class. Same way you cannot create the object of interface. But what you can create, can anyone tell me what you can create if the object creation is not possible? Then what you can create? Yes, anyone? Yes, right, correct. You can create reference variable. And why we are creating reference variable? Do you remember that why we were having that dynamic method dispatch and the abstract class? Why we were having that? To achieve what? Yes, correct. It is for runtime polymorphism. Yes, right. To achieve the runtime polymorphism, we were having that reference variable of the parent class, and now parent is right now pointing wherever to its any of the subclass, that class's method will be executed at the runtime, right? So that was the concept. So the same concept we can even have with the interface. We can create reference of interface, right? So here right now what I'm doing is client ABC equals to new client. So here I'm creating object of class, right? And my class name is client. So I'm creating object of this client class, and here what I'm doing is my reference. This is the reference of callback interface. You can see callback is my interface and I'm creating reference. So the callback C equals to new client. So wherever you are creating the object, that is you are creating of the client. And the C is referring to that object right now. Fine. So I can call this method, which is the callback, via some of the parameter with the use of object ABC. And I can still create, invoke this method callback via your interface reference. Okay. So what I'm doing here, C dot callback with the 42. So what it will do, it will call this method obviously. Okay. And here the 42 will be printed. Again it will call the method and 43 will be printed. Same thing, but here compiler don't know which method will be called because I'm calling it, invoking it via reference variable, right? This compiler already know. This compiler know already, right? Because this binding is there at the compile time. Why? Because ABC is the object of client. Okay. So already compiler know here your method callback will be called via use of ABC, which is the object of the client. But this is what the runtime polymorphism. Though I'll show you another example which will give you the exact thing, exact idea about the runtime polymorphism. Okay. So here I'm having another class, which is another client, which again implements this callback interface. Okay. And now here, any of the class who is implementing this interface, they compulsory need to give the method which is declared in the callback interface. Right. So I'm having void callback, that is the method name, one of the integer parameter, I'm printing something here, that another version of the callback, and here I'm not only printing P. Instead of that, I'm doing P into P. Okay. Now, I'm having another class which is having public static void main, right? And I'm creating object of client here because my client class is the public one, or if it is not public, even though they are in the same package right now, so we can access this client easily. We can create the object of that client. So client CT equals to new client. So I'm creating object of client. Here I'm creating object of another client class, which is here, right? Another client, right? So I'm creating here the object of this two client and another client, and here I'm creating reference variable of this callback interface. So what I'm writing here, only this callback C, and C is right now pointing to the C2, means to the client. Okay, to this client class object, which is CT. Fine. Now, whenever I'm calling this method callback with the use of this reference variable with some of the argument, which callback method will be called and what will be printed? Yes, yes, anyone? What will be printed? Only the value of this, right? No. Fine. Only the value of this will be printed. That's sum of the statement, and you are simply printing this 42. But now this C means this callback reference, it's right now pointing to this OB. Here this OB is nothing but object of another client, and they are having another version of this callback where I'm simply passing 42, but it will print 42 into 42. Right? No? Yes or no? Hello? Am I audible to you guys? Yes. Right? So there it will be printed with the value P, as well as here it will print the value P into P, because it will call another version, that is this. P squared is P into P. So we are simply printing square of this P, right, in another client. So here we are calling the method via reference only. So this is again the runtime polymorphism, which we can achieve via interface either. Fine? Is it clear? Okay? Yeah. Fine. Now another program where we are achieving multiple inheritance hierarchy, right? Here I am having one of the interface, that is car. In that I am having integer speed, that is one of the variable, and one of the method, that is public void distance. Now I am having another interface, that is bus, and I am having integer distance equals to 1000, and I am having here the speed. Via this two kind of interface, I'll simply find what is the speed and what is the distance. How we will implement that, I'll show you. Here I am having one class vehicle. This vehicle implements car and bus, both the interface into this class. So what is the condition? You have to compulsorily give definition of this two interface, void distance and void speed. Fine. So here what we are doing is, in this void distance method, which is actually of this class, this interface car, right? I'm having this method void distance. Here we are having integer distance equals to speed into 10. So have you seen this? I am using the speed variable here and I am calculating distance here. Okay, in this method. So I'm increasing the speed every time, and here I'm just showing that distance traveled by car is this. And in void speed, whatever they are doing, whatever the formulas they have implemented, that is not right now for the consideration, right? Consideration is only that you have to implement these two methods into your class. That's it, right? And here I'm having void speed. Here I am calculating speed, that whatever the distance is there divided by 100, and you will have the speed, and the speed of bus is this. This is what you are doing, right? Now in this class main demo, in this public static void main, we are printing this, that is vehicle v1 equals to new vehicle, and via this object v1 we are calling this two methods, distance and speed. Okay. This is what simply we are doing. Okay. Now the another example, that is interface inheritance. Here I am having interface A. Inside that I am having two methods, meth1, meth2, right? Now here I am having another interface B, which is having three methods, meth1, meth2 and meth3. But again we are not writing here that meth1 and meth2. Instead of that, what we are doing? We are doing extends A. Right, so now B includes meth1, meth2 and it will add meth3. Okay. So here in this class which implements only B, right? Here we are only implementing one of the interface which is B. We are not implementing interface A. Then also you have to give the definition for all these three methods. Why? Because in interface B all the three methods are available, right? Due to that you have to write it. So you have given the definition of meth1, meth2 and meth3. And now you are having another class which is your main class, which includes the public static void main. Here you are creating object of your class, and via the object you are calling, invoking these three methods. Is it clear? Any doubt in this? What is interface inheritance? What is, how we are achieving multiple inheritance via interface? Any doubt in this? Anyone? Okay. Fine. Okay. So now most IMP question, that is difference between the abstract class and interface. What is the difference between these two? So here in this abstract class can have abstract and non-abstract method. Means if any of your class is the abstract one, class A, which I have declared it as an abstract. So it means that in this class A, at least one method is of type abstract. So I am having abstract void f1, that is one of the function, okay, where you are not defining it, you are only declaring. But you can even have normal methods which is known as concrete method, or you can say non-abstract method, where you are having the definition, you are writing some of these statements here, right? Such kind of methods also you are having in the abstract class. One more method, void show, or any method you can include here. Thousands of method, whatever you like, right? And you are printing, right? So here you can see that into this abstract class, you are having abstract method also, and you are having non-abstract methods also. But in interface, you have all the methods, that is the abstract type. There is no such kind of method where you are giving any kind of definition here. No methods are like this. You are only putting semicolon here. That's it. Okay. So that is the first difference. So here abstract class have the abstract and non-abstract method, and here interface can have only abstract methods. Since Java 8, it can have default and static methods also, right? Because you are not writing anything, it means by default it is default, and if you are making it as a static, it would be also static. Otherwise, generally, it will have only abstract kind of methods in this interface. But we are only have the statements what we are having in a theory, that it is having by default abstract kind of methods, and by default it would be the public. Abstract class doesn't support multiple inheritance. It does not support, of course, an interface that supports multiple inheritance, but via interface, right? Abstract class can have final, non-final, static, non-static variables, and here interface is only static and final kind of variables, right? In abstract class, you can even have normal variable which is integer a, right? Or you can have even a static integer b equals to 50 or something like this, or you can have even a final kind of variable, that final float pi equals to 3.14, something like this. But in interface, whatever you are writing, that would be by default a kind of final, or it would be a static if you are specifying, right? Abstract class can provide implementation of interface. Abstract class can provide implementation of interface. So any of your abstract class even implements interface, right? It is possible, but reverse is not possible, that interface can't provide implementation of abstract class, right? Here, if any of the abstract class A, you can write implements I1, right? So you can provide here whatever the method is described in I1, that you can give the definition here. Say suppose void F1, right? Here I'll give another name, or here I'll give another name F2. So you can provide implementation for this methods, right, that you can do in your abstract class. Okay, but the reverse is not true. The abstract keyword is used to declare the abstract class. Here the interface keyword is used to declare interface. An abstract class can extend another Java class and implement multiple Java interfaces. That is possible, right? But an interface can extend another Java interface only, right? So if I'm having interface I1, that only extends I2, which is the another interface. But in abstract class, I can even write class A extends B, and that implements I1 and I2 both. So such kind of definition is possible if you wish. It is possible. An abstract class can be extended using the keyword extends, and any of the interface that will be implemented using implements keyword. A Java abstract class can have class members like private, protected, etc. But here the member of Java interface are public by default. Okay, you don't have to specify it. Then also it is by default. Here the public one. Okay, inside interface only. Okay, if in a class you are not writing anything, means by default it is default, huh? But if into a short question, if I'm asking that in within the interface, if I'm not writing anything, any access specifier, then by default what it would be, then here the answer is the public, right? Within the interface, within interface. Fine. And here the example, here the public class, that is the abstract one, and shape, you are having one of the abstract method which is void draw. And here you are having one interface drawable, and you are having one of the method. But there is no need to write public and abstract here in the interface, because by default it is a kind of public and by default it is a kind of abstract. So no need to write. But here you have to specify, right? Everyone, is it clear or not? Still you can find many more differences. Huh? Here I have tried to cover all the points, but still on the net if you will search now, one or two differences you will find more. Okay? So you can include it, it is fine. Fine. Okay. So one more topic here, that is system.out.println statements. So what is system here, what is out here, and what is the println? What it is included in your syllabus, right? So I'm showing you what two topics are remaining to see. We'll discuss these two topics and we will be able to finish our fourth unit by today. So see here, we are having this fourth unit, overview of inheritance. Inheritance into the constructor means that constructor chaining, inheriting data members and methods, multi-level inheritance, method overriding, handle multi-level constructors, explain super keywords, stop inheritance via this final, right? Then creation and implementation of interface, interface reference, instance of operator that we will see today, that is the remaining one, instance of operator. Then interface inheritance, dynamic method dispatch, what is abstract class, comparison between abstract class and interface, and this what we are seeing inside of this system.out.println statement. So this and instance of operator. So this two we will see and we'll finish this unit. Okay. So system.out.println, directly see this figure. The system class actually resides in java.language package, and java.language package is a static one, so that is why we don't have to import that package, right? By default it is there, so that is why we are not writing that java.language dot something, any of the class, right? We are not writing it. Okay, but the system class is already a part of this language package, right? And this method, which is the println method, that is actually of java.io.printstring. Okay, this is one of the class, because here in the file handling, whenever we'll start it, at that time also you will learn some of the things, that what is the string. We'll be having a two different kind of string, byte stream and the character stream, right? And for those all, we are having number of classes, around the 18 classes, what I remember is, right? So one of the class is this print string, which is resides in IO package, because IO is generally for input and output kind of operation, right? So this method you are calling via the object of the system class, which is out, right? Why out can access this method println, so that we will learn deeply whenever we will see this file handling, right? Because you don't know about the different classes, right? And this out and in, these two are built-in objects. That is why you are not creating this out object like this, right? You are not writing it that system is a class, so you are not writing system out equals to new system. You are not writing like this, right? And then you are using the out. No, it is not like this. They, here these are the built-in objects, so you can directly use like this, system dot out, and via the object you are calling this method println. Here you are having the two options. You are having print method also, and you are having println. You know the difference very well. Now, here the Java system.out.println is used to print an argument that is passed to it. And the statements that can be broken into three parts, which can be understood like this. System. System is a final kind of class. So, even you cannot write like this class A extends system. Why you cannot write like this? Because system is a kind of final. So final class will do what? Final class is not allowing you to inherit properties of its class, right? Okay. So you cannot write like this. If you write like this, you will have an error. Fine. Because it is a final kind of class which is defined in java.language package. Out is what? That is instance, or you can say object of print stream type. Okay, print stream type, which is a public and static member field of the system class. So it is actually the part of system class also, right? It is a member, static member of this class, but actually that is object of a print string, because if you remember, whenever we are creating a scanner class object, we are writing new scanner, and inside that we are writing system.in. So what is this in? What is this in? This in is nothing but again built-in object for taking the input. So it is related to not the print stream, but instead of that input stream, because it is used to take input. And if I am writing out, means it is related to the output stream. Okay, they are actually the part of stream. Why stream? Because they are dealing with your console input and output. So what is console input? That is whatever we are taking via keyboard, that is console input, and whatever by default we are sending, that is onto the screen. So that screen is known as console output. Fine. Okay, this thing you will get to know once we'll start file handling. Okay. And println is what? As all instance of this print stream class have a public method println, hence we can invoke the same on out as well. So out dot, via that you can call this method. This is the upgraded version of print. Only print without slash n, right? And if this is println, means it will provide slash n. It prints any argument passed to it and add a new line to the output. We can assume that system.out represent a standard output string, right? System.out, it will represent standard output string. So whatever you are writing with the println, that will print by default everything onto your screen. But you can change that, and you can write inside any of the file also, and that we will see in file handling. Another topic, which is instance of. Here the instance of is nothing but it's a kind of operator which will do the comparison. Comparison means if I am having a class, any of the class, that is class A, and something I am writing over here, right? And now I am having another class main, where in public static void main I'm creating object of this class, that AA equals to new A. And now I'm asking that is this A is object of A class or not. This is what I'm asking via instance of operator. Is this thing is clear or not? I'm simply asking this A, or I'll write object. So maybe you will be more clear. So I'm asking that is obj, this object, is actually object of this A class or not? Yes or no? This is what I'm asking. So I'm saying that obj instance of A or not. Simple. So whenever I'm asking a question, at that time it will written either in true or false. So what you can understand, instance of is written in Boolean kind of well. Right? Simple to understand, yes or no. I'm showing you the example, don't worry. Okay. This thing will be more useful when we will be having applet concept. Right? Because whenever you are clicking onto any of the button, then you are checking that okay, this is actually the object of actually this class or not, and it resides or it is an instance of which class, so that class's method will be called. So it is very useful whenever there is a interactive system, right? Whenever you are clicking on this, then this event will happen. So which event will happen where you have clicked based on that. Okay. And at that time it is required to check that this object is actually of which class. Okay. And based on that, method will be invoked. Fine. So again, back to the slide. So here, an instance of is actually a comparison operator, which given an object instance, it will check whether that instance is of a specified type, whether it is of the same class, whether it is of your subclass, or whether it is of your interface. That is or not. Just like other comparison operators, it will return true or false. Comparing any object instance with a null type will always give you false. Syntax is what? Here is the object name, instance of, and the class name. Here, if object name is an instance of the class name, it will return true, else it will return false. So here is a very simple example. Once you will see the example, you will get to know. Class simple. In this public static void main, I am having one of the string objects, string str1 equals to something. If str1 is instance of the string, if it is there or not, if it is something like that, if it is true, then the statement will be printed, else it will print this. So generally we are using this instance of inside any conditional statement like if, else, while loop, do while loop, somewhere like there to check the condition. So I'm checking here if str1. So you can see this. str1 is actually instance of the string class. Yes, it is true. So this statement will be printed. Any doubt in this? What is this instance of operator? Any doubt in this? Yes or no? Clear. Okay. Great. Fine. So how it is, still you can check the instance of your subclass also, but the reverse is not true. So for that, I'm showing you another example. Class animal, that is your parent class. Class mammal, that is the subclass of this animal class. So class mammal extends animal. And we are not doing anything inside this class. Now I'm having another class which will just test this instance of inside that public static void main. Now what I'm doing is I'm creating object of this mammal and animal, both, right? So I'm writing mammal, m object equals to new mammal. So you can understand if I'm having this m means that is of mammal object, and if I'm having this a, it means that is of the animal. Just to remember that thing. Mammal, animal, both the objects we have created. Now here we are checking is child class instance of the child class or not. So I am only checking for m object is actually instance of the mammal or not. So that is very obvious, this m object is actually instance of this mammal class only, so it will give you always true. Yes or no? So I'm only checking that the child class is actually instance of child class or not. That is very but obvious. Second thing, here I'm checking that if child class is instance of your parent class or not. So that is also true. Here you can check for M object is instance of animal or not. Have you seen this? I am checking for the mammal object, but that is part of animal or not. So always your subchild, your child class object is part of your parent class also. But reverse is not true. So this is possible, that is perfectly fine. M object is actually instance of animal class. So it will print this line that M object is instance of animal. So that is correct. But now we are trying for reverse. That is parent class is instance of child class. So I am checking for A object is instance of mammal or not. Right? So it will go to this else part because that is not true. Clear this thing? It will go to this else. Here it will go to this if, that is correct. Here it will go to this if, that is correct. But here it will go to the else because you cannot say that parent class object is part of your child. No, that is not possible. But child is actually part of parent, that is possible. Clear? Yes, Ritesh. I hope I have given the answer. Yeah. Fine. So here we have finished our fourth unit. Next time we'll start with the fifth. I hope you don't have any doubt in unit number 4. Right? Fine. So that's all from my side. You can write your enrollment numbers in sequence. Number 1, Nancy, then Rahel, then 3, 4, and so on. Please write your number in sequence. 5 and 6. Where are you? Fine, after 8. Drashti, I'm saying that you have to write the number enrollment number wise. So only here the 8 number is there. So how it become 40 after it? After 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever the number is coming. 10, 13, 14, fine. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Pradeep, I won't mark your present, right? I will not mark the present who is not listening to me. After 29, chalo, 30, 31, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, 32. There is 33, 4. After that, 5, 6. Then 37, 8, 9, 40. Forty-eight. After that, 51. Yes, after 63, 66, 67. Yes, 113, 104, 165, 161, 167. Chalo, quickly. Then Ayush. 002. Yeah. Then D2D. Then 31, 32, 33, 4, 5, 7, 38, 39, 40, 41, 2, then 51, Shreya. Yeah. And after that, Jay and Chirag. Yes. Fine, you may leave the meet if you have written your number. Thank you.